to go through the purpose of the RFA and the available funding. So the Healthy Refrigeration Grant Program funds energy-efficient refrigeration equipment in corner stores, small businesses, and food donation programs in low-income and low food access areas. This round, the RFA is for applicants seeking refrigeration equipment, as well as organizations applying for equipment and to provide technical assistance to corner stores, small businesses, or food donation programs. And this round, we have up to $12 million available in grants. All right, and so the pilot program began in 2019, and many projects just finished up in the spring of 2022. So using the findings from our program evaluation and participant feedback, we made changes to the pilot program for the upcoming equipment RFA. So one of the first changes is that there are now two types of technical assistance. The first type is the technical assistance that we had the previous grant round for, which targeted 3 to 5% of the funding pool. And the second type of technical assistance is for organizations providing equipment and hands-on technical assistance. And the cap on that has been raised from 10% to 20%. And I know that was a brief overview, but we'll talk more about the two types of technical assistance later on in the presentation. So an additional change that was added to this round is that we expanded the items that can be stocked in the refrigerators. So last round, it was California grown fruits and vegetables, nuts, and minimally processed foods. This round, we've expanded to include vegetables, fruits, nuts, meat, eggs, dairy products, minimally processed, so that includes frozen, dried, smoked, fermented foods, as well as culturally appropriate foods, and all grown in California to the extent possible. We've also expanded cold storage equipment. We expanded cold storage equipment, which that can be considered. So we now include freezers in our equipment that can be funded. We've also expanded eligibility, so food donation programs can be considered for grant funding, as well as we now have advanced payments available. So up to 3 months of expenses can be paid in advance for no more than 90% of the grant total. And this is provided that the terms and conditions are satisfied. So to go over the RFA basics, the Healthy Refrigeration Grant Program is established in the Food and Agricultural Code section 49105, and it's funded through the 2021 and 2022 state budgets. This round, up to $12 million, is available for equipment grants. We will be having a second equipment grant round, which will be held in fall 2023. And for this round, there's no minimum or maximum cap for requests. And also, one and multi-year grants are considered. The target start date is summer to fall 2023, and they have to end by December 2026. Our applications will be submitted through CDFA's new grant management system. It's called Amplifund. The link to the Amplifund application will be available on our program website, along with training materials about how to navigate the site when applying. And that will all be put on our website when the RFA is released in mid-December. All right, so now to go through who's eligible for the grant. So first, corner stores, and just to note that corner stores can be neighborhood, convenience, or mom and pop stores. That anything that qualifies as a small business, it does not necessarily have to be located on a corner. Also, small businesses, nonprofits who are either providing equipment and technical assistance to corner stores and food donation programs, or selling food directly in low income or low food access areas. Also, cities, counties, local government organizations are eligible to apply, as well as tribal governments. And for previous applicants and grantees, past implementation performance will be considered. All right, and to go through some allowable expenses and disbursement. So for all grantees, the grant will fund refrigeration and freezer equipment. And new to this grant round, we will also be funding installation and unloading and placement costs, as well as removing and recycling of the old equipment that is being upgraded, and also funding minor electrical work. And for technical assistance providers, all of the above will be funded, and technical assistance will also, technical assistance at no more than 20% of the total grant amount, which will include staff time and benefits, travel, materials, other direct costs, and subcontracting with provided justification. And it will also fund indirect rates up to 10% of the total grant amount. All right, and so I'll turn it over to Elisa to take away the rest of the presentation.
Thank you. There is just a bit of content left to get through about the RFA itself. This slide is about what is about how the grants will actually be dispersed. So the most typical method is reimbursement, that grantees will make expenditures and purchases and submit quarterly, monthly, or annually based on grantee convenience for reimbursement to CDFA. And then once invoices are approved, payments are generally issued between 45 and 60 days. That's the time that you should have the reimbursement check in hand after your invoice is approved. Also new to the program, advance pay is now possible. This is for situations when grantees have low cash flow, and a reimbursement process would be just a real hardship for the organization or business. So the advance pay can cover up to 3 months of expenses, and no more than 90% of the total grant amount can be advanced. And it will take an application form, which is actually very similar to the information you would submit in a reimbursement invoice. Very simple, but just includes a line for justification of why advance pay is needed. All the funds must be spent before any more funds can be advanced. And one of the California regulations is that grantees cannot earn interest on the advances. So you either have to place the advanced funds somewhere that's non-interest bearing, or even track and return any earned interest back to CDFA. So that part may take a little bit of extra tracking than doing reimbursement based. Cities, counties, and universities are generally not eligible for advance payment. If you have a specific case where you want to talk about this after being awarded a grant, we can definitely be in conversation about any specific needs or cases. And advance pay can be combined with reimbursement, so it might be convenient to do a bit of both for a project. I also wanted to clarify that for example, for a corner store who's going to make basically a one-time equipment purchase, you don't need to split the amount of the purchase into equal 3 months periods for the whole grant term. You just specify and apply for the advance if needed for the 3 months in which you'll make the equipment purchase. But with the 90% can be advanced stipulation, you may still be in a situation where you have to put up to 10% of the purchase cost. You may need to front the funds for that smaller amount in that case. Next slide, please. For the, as far as technical assistance, Carly mentioned we'd be talking a little more about this. In March of this year, we held a grant round to find technical assistance providers who could help with outreach and application assistance at a regional level, at a statewide level, and or provide technical expertise with refrigeration around the equipment, around energy efficiency, around climate friendliness of equipment and how to comply with the regulations and guidelines, or around healthy retail best practices. Healthy retail being programs that work with corner stores or small stores to help them transform their business models and offer more fresh and healthy foods for their communities and neighborhoods and clientele. So 7 technical assistance providers were awarded grants this spring. And you can see their descriptions and contact information on our program webpage. So as you can see, there may be assistance available to folks who want that when applying for equipment grants. And you can always reach out to our office if you're not sure if you're in the right region or who might be able to help. And we'll talk more in just a minute about help selecting equipment also. Technical assistance in this program is also included in this grant round, that organizations applying at a local level on behalf of corner stores, small businesses, or food donation programs can apply for equipment and to provide hands-on technical assistance, including things like selecting and purchasing equipment, installing it, procuring fresh produce, stocking, merchandising, maintaining the equipment, those sorts of activities. And as I think Carly mentioned a few minutes ago, up to 20% of total grant budgets can now cover technical assistance for this grant, which is an increase. During the previous pilot program phase, 10% of grant budgets could cover technical assistance. And technical assistance must be provided free of cost to grantees. We've compiled several different resources to help grantees select refrigeration equipment, knowing that this is one of the, this can be one of the challenges depending on the site. There are, you can see the RFA guidelines that are posted online. We also have 2 appendices if you had a chance to look through them. One is supplying a list of manufacturers who make various different kinds of equipment that are likely to be desired through this program, and also a list of several different specific models that manufacturers submitted in response to a request from CDFA and the California Air Resources Board to supply eligible equipment for reference for use in this program. We also put together a quick tips worksheet that offers some advice, including a lot from previous grantees of this program, as well as program evaluators, about how to select equipment, where to place it in the store, what to consider, what to measure in terms of store space, in terms of, for example, fridge doors opening, and how to stock and maintain it. In terms of the standards themselves, I won't get too deep into the technical weeds right now, but have a look through the RFA equipment guidelines. And this program really is incentivizing the most energy efficient and climate friendly equipment that is out there on the market currently available. So we are mandating units with doors in most cases. There may be some unusual cases where grantees or applicants really have need for an open case for their site. And in that case, it just needs to be justified and explained, and CDFA has to approve that type of equipment. Standalone units, so those are the types that tend to be smaller size and can just be plugged in and work, must use hydrocarbon refrigerants. Refrigerants are the substance that actually cools the unit, and the guidelines get into this. California regulations around refrigerants have tightened up in the last few years. So the guidelines really explain what's required per regulations in this state, and also that it's the lowest global warming potential, or GWP, and as well as typically the most energy efficient choice. So there are also types of units, generally the larger ones, where applicants will have a choice of what refrigerant to select for the unit, what kind of equipment. They'll use different refrigerants. And when there is a choice, we are incentivizing that applicants need to select the lowest global warming potential choice of refrigerant when that is applicable. So the guidelines get more into that. For assistance, you can always reach out to us with questions, our office. And one of our technical assistance providers is a small business, Effecterra, that works as refrigeration experts and consultants. So they are actually having a look at the resources already created and helping refine them for final publication. They're creating resources for the whole program that can continue to be kind of live to help applicants as they go about implementation and their projects. And they have a web form for questions. So if applicants look through all the resources, check the guidelines, the appendices, which include also Appendix B is a list of some models previously purchased through this program, and the quick tips, and still have questions. Or if applicants are looking for unusual kind of non-standard equipment types or types of equipment such as refrigerated vans or mobile carts or units for outdoor spaces that maybe we haven't provided a lot of information about, you can fill out the web form to get a response from Effecterra, the refrigeration consultants. And their process will be to batch questions and requests and then respond kind of en masse and create a frequently asked questions that's kind of a living document for everyone for the whole program, anyone interested. So there's likely to be a few days delay. Their work isn't so much to be at hand immediately for any applicant question, but rather to create resources for everyone as a whole through this program. But that is the technical expertise resource that's available to everyone. In addition to some of the regional providers could have varying capacity and can also help stores that they're working with or folks they're doing outreach with in their areas with some of the technical questions as well. Next, what happens once applications are submitted? So first, CDFA conducts an administrative review. We make sure that applications are complete and that applicants are eligible for the program. Then applications are sent over to our technical committee for review. And this includes external reviewers mainly from other state agencies, from nonprofits, small businesses, other folks with relevant experience for this program. And we are looking for more technical committee review participants. So if anyone on this session, on this call is interested, or you know anyone who might be a good reviewer, please spread the word and have them reach out to our office, and we will let them know what's entailed and timing and kind of vet their participation. After technical committee review, CDFA will compile scores and make funding recommendations that go up to CDFA executive leadership to recommend final awards. And as a note, CDFA, we may ask clarifying questions and we may work with applicants to modify proposals, and CDFA does reserve the right to make partial awards. In some cases, there may be elements of an application that are not eligible, even though many elements may be eligible, or we may find we have funding constraints, such as if the grant round is oversubscribed. So those are all possibilities. That's the process, the overview of the process in a nutshell. Next slide, please. Funding priorities. The top funding priority is that the projects serve low income and low food access clientele, shoppers and clients, and socially disadvantaged groups. So we will, in the final RFA published, we'll provide some mapping tools that you can look to search. Most of them are based on census tract data, so you can see whether you can input your address and see whether that location falls into a low income or low food access, meaning at a geographic remove from a full service grocery store. You can see where that falls on the maps. This program does allow some flexibility that there can be a lot of barriers to accessing fresh food, not just geographic ones. But if it's a case where the site doesn't exactly fall in a low income or low food access census tract, that's when we might want a little more information about what are the barriers, how do you know that you're serving a low income and low food access population. That's where we would say, tell us a little more, and we would want to vet the site for eligibility. We also prioritize serving socially disadvantaged groups and supporting small business owners and community leaders who are from socially disadvantaged groups, from backgrounds. There's a definition for socially disadvantaged groups that is linked in the RFA that refers back to the Farmer Equity Act in California of 2017. And that's an area also where applicants are welcome to provide some information about that. We're also looking for applicants to have a track record or strong plan, some experience or expertise in the space, or the store has a history of operating and serving the community. There's some evidence of demand for the fresh produce or healthy foods that will be stocked. There may be partnerships in place for implementation and to make it happen. For applicants applying to provide technical assistance as well as equipment, we will look to see that those organizations have the capacity and the expertise and the relationships and a clear plan to successfully implement. In those cases, we'll be looking at the implementation plan, that there's a reasonable timeline and goals and anticipated outcomes, and that the budget is both reasonable and sufficient, so that the budget looks like it makes sense, it'll be possible to implement, both reasonable and also enough to make the project and the outcomes possible. You will see, I'll note, when you look at the application questions, corner stores and small businesses applying directly are asked for less information than nonprofits and local government organizations and agencies. So some of these funding priorities apply more to the nonprofits in cities and counties. The first kind of cut of the funding priority will go to low income and low food access locations. And that is something that will be looked up for each applicant. Timeline. We have already released the RFA for public comment, obviously. We are currently in the listening session period, and there'll be a Spanish language listening session tomorrow. Public comments are due by December 12th, so please submit your feedback by then, either today, or if you think of something else or don't get a chance to comment today, please drop us an email. We're also happy to schedule a phone call if that's preferred, and more of a one-on-one phone call. Once all our stakeholder feedback is in, we will plan to address the comments in a written document. Again, all questions and comments will be anonymized, but we'll respond. We will make sure to have a response to each one, and we'll consider them in finalizing the RFA. And we will address whether we were able to incorporate the feedback and how in that kind of summary document by the time that we release the actual RFA and open up for equipment applications, which will be in mid-December before the holidays. Grant applications will be due by March 15th, so a little bit of an extended period, partly so that the TA providers working on outreach and application assistance will have some time to work with folks. We anticipate announcing awards in late May. Grant terms should start given the process of creating and executing grant agreements, ideally by around August, and they can end for multi-year projects no later than December 2026. And then we're gearing right up for the next equipment RFA. We will release a second grant round for people seeking refrigeration and freezer equipment by as early as September or September-October range. We did want to go through reporting requirements. So for grantees that are awarded grants, here's what you'll be required to participate in. Corner stores and small businesses applying directly and receiving grants from CDFA will be asked to supply one or more photos, so pictures of the new equipment in use once it's installed and functioning, and will need to participate in the evaluation. Nonprofits and local or tribal government organizations will be asked to submit annual and final written reports. So if it's a one-year project, that's just one final report. For a multi-year, you'll be asked for an annual and one final report, plus photos of the equipment in use. They'll need to participate in the evaluation and help facilitate the evaluation at the sites that they're working with, at the corner stores or small businesses or food donation programs. So CDFA is contracting with an external program evaluator for this program. We did this for the pilot phase 2, and actually the evaluation results will very shortly be published on our website. We'll let you all know when that happens. And evaluation activities may include a survey to complete. You may be asked to participate in 1 or 2 interviews. Evaluators may do store or site visits. They may survey or interview shoppers or customers or clients, and they could ask some stores for some sales data or energy bills to in order to analyze kind of what happens with sales or energy efficiency after new fridges funded through this program are installed. So to highlight, during the pilot program, this sometimes did take some amount of time for the nonprofits that were working with corner stores to either help the evaluators schedule site visits and interviews, or facilitate, help remind store owners and managers to complete the online survey, or in some cases, literally help walk them through the survey and submit it on site's behalf. So past grantees have definitely recommended that we as CDFA mention that, and that applicants build some of that activity. Remember to take account that that will take some time in any project plans. And we have run through our presentation of the content, the basics of the RFA and the process.